Oh no, please no. The doctor looked up, her mouth set in a particular way. Things were getting serious. I said to Meg, my love, you need a push. I didn't tell her why. I didn't tell her about the cord. I didn't tell her about the likelihood of an emergency C-section. But I said, you better push that damn baby out, regardless of what the doctor says. I see danger and I'm about to panic. All right, get that baby out of there. The doctor's saying don't push, but don't listen to her. I say to push, which is exactly what a father who's looking at a baby being born and knows nothing about the process would say. I said, you better give me everything you got, and she did. I saw a little face, little tiny neck, little arms, and a chest wriggling and writhing, live. It's amazing. I thought, wow, it really all begins with a struggle for freedom. Tell the baby your wish, for him your love tell. And we told. I don't remember phoning anyone or texting them, though. I remember watching the nurses and run tests on my hour-old son, and then we went out of there and into the lift and into the underground car park, into the people carrier, and gone. Within 2 hours of our son being born, we were back at Frogmore. Have you ever heard a greater load of... Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Denise, and today I want to talk about something that has plagued me for a long time, and that is the question of, where are the children? Where are Harry and Meghan's kids? And do they honestly exist? Now, I know that that's kind of like a little bit conspiratorial, but you know what? I'm down the rabbit hole now since I've accepted the moon bump story. And if the moon bump story was true and she didn't actually have these pregnancies, then is it possible that she has faked having the kids? Now, I know that's kind of wild. She did travel with baby Archie when he was a little baby, when they went down to South Africa. We've seen these children in documentaries. They've posted pictures. They've sent out holiday cards. They've given us some hints that these children are alive. They came out and introduced the baby to us when he was born, right? Now, we've never clapped eyes on Lilibet for real, but, you know, it's possible that they just really want a private existence for their kids. And well, I've always thought that Meghan potentially was not actually pregnant. I had initially believed that the child was real. He was just born of a surrogate. Like that's as far as my mind would extend towards conspiracy. Considering the fact that they never tell us anything about their kids, I started to think about, okay, what's the actual evidence for the conspiracy theory that they not only never had a pregnancy, but that these kids are not real? And the crowning jewel in this crown of crazy is the fact that they do not talk about their children as people who have children in their home. And so today, I would like to go through the timeline of Harry and Meghan's claims that they have children, culminating in all of the quotes that I could find of them talking about their children, which do not make sense. As far as people who have kids, this isn't the way we talk about our kids. And in this vague kind of language, in this kind of shadowy sort of general references to what it is like, what it feels like to be a parent. They're constantly throwing out these like little breadcrumbs of the little things that their kids like to do. But as far as people who have children who could give you a robust understanding of what it is to know their child, to love their child, what their child's like, their real interests, their real loves, like their real personalities, they're real short on facts for people who have dedicated their lives to their children. And the reason they've had to take a step back from public life is because they love their kids so much that all they want to do is be with their kids, right? This is what we constantly hear. And yet, when it's time to talk about the kids, they act like they hardly know these people, right? So today, I just would love to go through the timeline and talk about this true horror story on Halloween about where Harry and Meghan's kids are and if they actually exist. So obviously, the first thing we have to talk about is pregnancies. And I won't go, on and on and on about it because I've already talked about it to some length in previous videos. But a couple of weeks ago, I did do a video where I did talk about the fact that her pregnancies could not possibly have been real. Certainly, the pregnancy with Archie was questionable as all get out. And for a variety, you guys have all seen the evidence. We've seen the coat flicking, which was just a weird way to behave. We've seen the bump falling down between her legs. We've seen that video of her in the black and white dress where her belly is just bouncing to and fro. We've seen that one. We've seen her kneeling down to talk to people. When you physically cannot do that, if there is a growing human being in your body and your stomach is extended out to wazoo, you're not squatting on the ground with your legs in front of you right where the bump would be. Like, it's not possible. It's not. Like, it's like we don't even need to ask any questions anymore. Like, that alone tells us all we need to know. You can't do that. Physically, you can't. And she can be like, well, I'm very fit. I do yoga. I'm very stretchy. The baby's literally right there. You being stretchy and you doing yoga has nothing to do with how you now navigate this gigantic bump in the front of you and the fact you can't move that around no matter how much yoga you do. So we don't need to like go way down into all of that. We've talked about it. We know about it. The point of this video is, okay, but then she had the babies. What now? Right? So the pregnancies were crazy. But the way they describe the birth of the baby was, for me, the first red flag. Because nobody talks about having a baby the way those two talk about having a baby. Specifically Harry. Now, if you guys have been following me since way back in the day when I used to film in the garden shed, you know that Harry talked about having his baby Archie in the wildest terms imaginable. But for memory's sake, I would love to go back to Spare and remind you about the way he discussed Meghan having that baby, because that for me was when I started going, wait a second, is it possible she never gave birth? Let's listen to the birth story from Harry. He writes, Doria was staying with us, waiting for the baby to come. Neither she nor Meghan ever strayed far. None of us did. We all just sat around waiting, going for the occasional walk, looking at the cows. By the way, just as a side note, I had forgotten how bad this book was until I was thumbing through it looking for this particular section when I was prepping for this episode. And I was floored. I was floored by how stupid it is. And I can't believe I could be shocked again. I spent months reading it to you. But when I was flipping through it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is 10 times worse than I remembered. And I can't even believe it could be worse than I remembered because it was absolute hot garbage juice. Anyway, to continue. He writes that Meg was a week past her due date and the comms team in the palace began pressuring me. When's the baby coming? The press can't wait forever, you know. Oh, the press is getting frustrated. Heaven forbid. Meghan's doctor had tried several homeopathic ways to get things moving, but our little visitor was just intent on staying put. Okay, red flag number 1. Your little visitor? A visitor is somebody who stays for a short amount of time and then leaves. Is that what y'all are planning on happening here? You're going to have a baby, but then eventually he's going to get sick and die? I mean, you know what I mean? What a way to describe that. So again, already, this is not the way people who are having a baby would talk about the baby. No, have you ever called your baby who's going to come a visitor, a little visitor? Question marks. In his rambly way, he says, I don't remember if we ever tried Granny's suggestion of a bumpy car ride. But he said finally it was, let's just go and make sure nothing's wrong. Let's be prepared in case the doctor says it's time. So they decide, even though there's been no birth pains, nothing's going on, they're just going to like hop in the car and go see the doctor and be like, is it time yet? Does it feel like it's time, Meghan? Do you feel pains at all? Don't go to the doctor. I mean, what if you don't have anything scheduled? You don't have no reason to see the doctor? No, but you're just going to hop in the car and be like, let's just go see. Is it time yet? So again, that's the way people would behave if they're not the one pregnant, right? The surrogate's pregnant. Did you mean you went to go hop in the car and see if her time had come yet? All right. But he says that they got in the nondescript people carrier, van for the rest of us, and they crept away from Frogmore without alerting any of the journalists stationed at the gates. He said it was the last sort of vehicle they'd expect we'd be riding in. A short time later, we arrived at the Portland hospital and were spirited into a secret lift and then into a private room. Our doctor walked in, talked it through with us, and said it was time to induce.
Meg was so calm. I was calm too. But I saw 2 ways of enhancing my calm. 1, Nando's chicken, brought by our bodyguards, and 2, a canister of laughing gas beside Meg's bed. I took several slow, penetrating hits. Meg, bouncing on a giant purple ball, a proven way of giving nature a push, laughed and rolled her eyes.
What the is going on here, right? So, again, this isn't the way people behave who are in there all excited to have their baby. You're so frantic that you are like, I gotta just I'm just going to gorge myself on chicken, and I'm such a drug addict that the first thing my eyes lay on is a way to get high. In the situation where I'm about to bring a child in the world, my first thought is, but I have to get high. I can't handle this amount of stress and pressure. Are you kidding me? So he says he takes several more hits. And, now he was bouncing too. And then, suddenly her contractions begin to quicken and deepen, and a nurse comes in and then tries giving some laughing gas to Meg, but oh damn, Harry's taken all of it. Now, of course, we have a couple of problems here. Number one, that's not the way they have the laughing gas, right? It's directly from the wall. And so you're trying to tell me that you sucked up all the laughing gas in the hospital? And then number two, your wife is about to be in some of the most excruciating pain of her whole life. You well know it if you know anything about life at all. And your thought was, I'm
so stressed out, I've got to get high. I don't care if she's got what she needs when she's in excruciating pain.
So I just don't think that a father who truly believes his children are coming, would be gorging himself on chicken, taking the laughing gas, getting high to the extent that there's nothing left for his wife. So number one, we know you didn't actually take up all the gas, because how could you possibly have? It comes from the wall. But then number two, you're telling us that you cared so little about your wife, that you took all that was meant for her and her pain? But you want us to believe you really believed a baby was coming and that you were going to then have to be a father, and this is the way you behave? Selfish, selfish, selfish? Ridiculous.
He says, the nurse looked at the tank, looked at me, and I could see the thought slowly dawning. Gracious, the husband's had it all. Sorry, I said meekly. Meg laughed, the nurse had to laugh, and quickly changed the canister. The canister that doesn't exist, but don't ask too many questions. Meg climbed into a bath. I turned on soothing music, soulful music that we'd already decided she wanted to listen to at the time. She said some mantras to herself over and over, because I'd taken all the gas, so it was just between her and the mantras to get her through it. We had a framed photograph of my mother by the bedside table. That was Meg's idea. And, time passed, an hour melted into an hour, minimal dilation. Meg was doing a lot of deep breathing for the pain, and then the deep breathing stopped working. She had so much pain, she needed an epidural. But the anaesthetist hurried in and offered the music and on with the lights. And whoa, vibe change. It's a vibe change is what it is. Still, the pain didn't let up. The medicine apparently wasn't getting where it needed to go. I don't know how these things work. They put a needle directly into her spine, but somehow the medicine was floating around her body. It wasn't getting where it needed to go. He came back in again. He did it again. Now things both quieted and accelerated. Then a doctor came 2 hours later, slipped both hands into a pair of rubber gloves. This is it, everybody. I stationed myself at the head of the bed, holding Meg's hand, encouraging her, push, my love, breathe and push. The doctor gave Meg a small mirror, hand mirror, held it down, you'll see what's going on. Nobody was assisting the holding of the mirror. Meg was supposed to be pushing out the baby and holding the mirror at the right angle in order to see the crowning. I tried not to look, but I had to. It's a mysterious situation. I glanced. I saw a reflection of the baby's head emerging. It was stuck. It was tangled. I don't know exactly how to describe what it was tangled in. His head was just coming out, but somehow I knew it was tangled. Tangled in what? I wouldn't say, I don't want to get graphic, but something was tangling it up down there. Oh no, please no. The doctor looked up, her mouth set in a particular way. Things were getting serious. I said to Meg, my love, you need a push. I didn't tell her why. I didn't tell her about the cord. I didn't tell her about the likelihood of an emergency C-section. But I said, you better push that damn baby out, regardless of what the doctor says. I see danger and I'm about to panic. All right, get that baby out of there. Doctor's saying don't push, but don't listen to her. I say to push, which is exactly what a father who's looking at a baby being born and knows nothing about the process would say. I said, you better give me everything you got, and she did. I saw a little face, little tiny neck, little arms, and a chest wriggling and writhing. Live. It's amazing. I thought, wow, it really all begins with a struggle for freedom, right? Struggle to get untangled from mum's business. A nurse swept the baby into a towel placed on Meg's chest, and we both cried to see him, meet him, healthy little boy, and here he was. And I whispered to the baby, tell the baby your wish for him, your love tell. And we told. I don't remember phoning anyone or texting them, though. I remember watching the nurses and run tests on my hour-old son, and then we went out of there and into the lift and into the underground car park, into the people carrier, and gone. Within 2 hours of our son being born, we were back at Frogmore.
Have you ever heard a greater load of in your life? You show up, you suck up all the gas. Then the baby's coming and the cord is apparently wrapped around the neck. The doctor's like, don't push. And you're like, push, push. Then you have the baby and you don't call anybody. You don't text anyone. You don't call anybody. You never say, my baby was just born. That's not normal behavior for someone who's just, brought a life into this world that they couldn't wait to have. And then 2 hours after the baby's born, you and your wife just hop up out of there, get in that people carrier and head on home to Frogmore. You are crazy if you want us to believe that ridiculous story. Okay? That's insanity. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. You didn't have that kid. Okay? You didn't. So, I could stop the video now and all of you be like, I'm convinced that was fake pregnancy. But we aren't here to talk about the fake pregnancy. We're here to ask the question, did they even have the kids? Right? So I think we have well debunked the idea that she ever had physically this kid. But let's talk about, are the kids here with us now? Are the kids in the room now? You know what I mean? It's like, it's questions of, are you two both so delusional you think we'll believe this? So they have the baby. Then it's time to introduce the baby to the world. But we're modern royals and we don't have to share our baby with the world. And we've decided to do a different way, more private way, a more intimate way. This is our life, not yours. And so we're really just going to pull the veil on that. So they didn't introduce the baby outside the hospital, right? Which was, of course, very offensive to so many Brits who wanted to see the new little prince, right? He wasn't a prince then, but you know what I'm saying. They wanted to see Harry's son. And Harry and Meghan just would not deign to let us see him. Like, we're modern royals where we don't have to share the baby. And so they drag their feet. The other thing is really weird is the fact that they had no name ready or prepared for this child, right? So it's just baby Sussex. It's just baby Sussex for like a hot second. Then they decide, okay, well, we have to come out and like show the baby in some way, but we're not coming out to the street. The filthy masses are not going to have anything to do with our kid. So then they show up and there's Meghan in her white dress with Harry, and he's holding this completely still baby. Now, if you've ever been around a newborn, you know that thing's twitching and jerking all over the place. Their faces are constantly moving. They have no control whatsoever. It doesn't matter if they're asleep. It doesn't matter if they're swaddled. They're wriggling, they're writhing, they're sleeping, but their faces are doing all kinds of things. And there's no way that they could have stood for as long as they stood to talk to the press. And not that it was even a long time. It was, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes they were there introducing the baby. That child's face never moved once. Never once was there even a twitch in those blankets. Never once was there just a little scrunching of the face. Nothing. And what's interesting is when they come out, they are so visibly nervous. It's not the kind of nervousness. It's not like the excited kind of like, we're parents for the first time. There's not any of this nervousness in the sense that like, I'm holding this living baby. I just want to be really careful with it. It wasn't that kind of nervous. It was I'm trying to deceive you and I'm wondering if I'll be able to pull this off. Even right after it happened, I remember there was a special report, I think it was on ABC. It's like a correspondence thing. They show Harry and Meghan come out, and afterwards, Samantha Guthrie is talking to the correspondent in England, and his first words were, they seemed very nervous.
We're being treated to some good old-fashioned British weather outside Windsor Castle here this morning. I thought they looked nervous, just like you'd expect new parents to look.
And he chalked it up to they're just nervous because they're first-time parents. And I'm thinking, no, they're nervous because they're wondering if you're going to believe that doll was a real human being. And what's really telling is that when they are introducing Archie and everything, the photographers say, "Could you show us the baby? Could you point like this so we can see the child?" And they immediately wrap up that interview.
Can we have a little peek at him? We just can't quite see his face. Wow.
He's already got a little bit of facial hair as well. Wonderful.
Just in the family.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Here he goes like this. As far as how he's going to show the baby, we're going from this to this. It was like a 1 degree difference in how he's holding that baby. And that was supposed to be him letting us see baby Sussex. So already, another red flag. You bring out a child that doesn't move whatsoever. And when we say, could we see it? You show us 1/10 of an inch more. Ridiculous behavior. Okay, so that's all weird enough. But then we get to the holiday cards and the birthday cards and the little bit of documenting that we see of these kids' lives. Of course, supposedly, we see baby Archie when they go down to South Africa. I don't know who that kid was. Maybe that was baby Archie. What's weird is that they had a child that we did see with them sometimes, but she left that kid over at the guest house. You know, you remember the one that went up in flames, that her child, barely survived the harrowing experience, right? Remember that? So she never even had the baby with her while they were going on all their engagements. And for somebody who is just so insistent that she is the most maternal person that you could ever hope to meet, and she can hardly bear to be parted with her children, for somebody to then just like leave her child at a guest house with a nanny, and just be going off and doing her own thing. Like, why did you even bother to bring this kid? Because you're as much with him as if he just stayed in England. Anyway, that's a different topic. But we did see a child with them. But where has this child been ever since? Right? I mean, for all their traveling and for all the things that they love to do as a family and all this, these kids have never made another appearance. And what I think is really interesting is the petering off we have seen of them documenting their kids' existence at all. Now, according to Meghan, she says the reason that you don't see any pictures of her is because and these are her words, okay? I'm not just making this up. This is not me just sort of like, doing a bit. She literally said, why in the world would I share pictures with the people who call my child the N-word before I would share pictures with the people that love them? That's a direct quote. Now, I'd love for Meghan to be able to show us one person who's ever called Archie the N-word. She says that because the whole world has been hateful to them and she's just not going to share any pictures. But, at the beginning, there were pictures of the first birthday. There was Christmas card pictures. But what's happening now? I'm not even saying that you need to give us a ton of pictures of your kid's face. I understand the idea of wanting to shelter your children's identity. I think it's a little bit complicated when you married a prince. It seems like you probably could not effectively navigate the whole oh, these are my kids, but I'm the celebrity, but they didn't ask for it, so I'm going to blur their faces or put a little emoji over their faces every time they happen to be in pictures. But even that would make more sense to me. If we saw tons of pictures of Meghan and Harry and stuff doing things with the kids, and they wanted to put an emoji over the kid's face like so many celebrities do, or blur out the kid's face, or always take pictures of the kid from behind. But if we continually and actively saw them doing things with the kids, and they just kind of wanted to continue to shield their physical identity, that would make me feel more like these kids were real. But it's the fact that there's nothing about them in the lives of two people who claim to love being parents. It's weird to me, but specifically the holiday cards. So let's just talk about that real quick. Let's go through the holiday cards. The first holiday card when Archie was born was Harry and Meghan in the background, and Archie is in the foreground. And then the next holiday card we see, I believe it was the famous Lilibet's born and here's little Archie. And that little kid who's Archie doesn't look anything like the little kid we've seen in the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix that we saw. I don't know who that kid was in the picture, or even Lilibet doesn't look like the picture that they've shown of her. Those kids didn't look the same. And one could argue and say, yeah, but kids change so much that it's really hard based on one picture to tell what the kid looks like. But I'll tell you, that little kid on Harry's leg who totally looks photoshopped in, that little kid does not look like the other kid that they try to show us so many times. Because that little kid has pretty red hair, but the other kid has kind of a brownish sort of auburn hair. Kind of curly, but didn't look physically in the face like even the kid that continues to be shown to us as potentially Harry and Meghan's kid, right? So that card was weird. But then the next holiday card that we see has Harry and Meghan on it with no kids. Now let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever seen it where a family has holiday cards where they begin to phase the kids out of the card and then the parents become the dominantly featured people on the Christmas card? I have seen numbers of times, and I've done this too, where the people who are getting phased out of the holiday card are mom and dad, and the kids and the dog are now featured, right? Because I don't need to be all dolled up, just whatever. Let's just put those kids on the card. They're the ones everyone wants to see anyway, cute little things that they are. The holiday card is like a time to be like, our kids have grown this much, I get a lot of holiday cards, like we all do, and you string them up in the living room or you string them up wherever. I tell you what, it would be the weirdest, wildest thing if somebody sent me a card and I knew they had kids and it was mom and dad on the card and the kids were nowhere to be seen. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Right? I'd be like, wait, what happened to the kids? And why are you two so selfish that you think that we want to see you? What happened to the kids? Even where's the dog? I mean, a holiday card is not where you and your husband, send out a picture to everybody that you know of you guys dolled up at some function. That's not normal. Again, so where are the kids? And that goes back to them just phasing the kids out of anything. Because before it used to be like, oh, it's his first birthday, here's a picture. Oh, it's the second birthday, the third birthday, the fourth birthday, fifth birthday. All you're going to get is a balloon sculpture that was made for Archie from the vendor who made it, and he posted on his Instagram. So we're letting you know that Archie's turning 5. But the family had nothing whatsoever to put out. Not even nothing. There was no picture of Archie. There's not even a picture of Archie from the back. There's nothing. There's nothing to commemorate the day that this child has been born, that this child is alive. But the vendor can post a picture of a balloon sculpture from the parking lot of his business, and that's all we're going to get. It's just like, are these kids alive? Are they? I don't know. But let's talk about the way Harry and Meghan discuss being parents, because to me, as I said at the beginning of this video, that is a crowning jewel in this story of chaos and confusion. Kind of goes back to the way Harry wrote about the birth. You don't know what it's like to be at a birth because you've never been to one. And you don't know what it's like to parent because you haven't. Right? So I would like to just read to you guys just a few things I found. I went down the rabbit hole collecting all of the times that I could find where Harry and Meghan discussed their children. And I'm telling you, this is not the way people who have kids discuss their kids. Well, let's talk about his first words, right? Parents love to talk about their kids. Parents love to sort of give some color about what's little Junior doing these days. And their description of Archie's first words, again, no, they weren't. Those were not his first words. Oprah interviewed them. They wanted to give some color on what Archie's like. Oprah's asking them about Archie, and Meghan says, "Oh my gosh, he's on a roll. He's such a chatterbox. In the past couple of weeks, his word has been hydrate, which I just think is hysterical." Yeah, we all do. Hydrate. What? What little kid's wondering on hydrate? Hydrate. Maybe. I mean, maybe if you're just like often telling the child to drink water, maybe. But and then Harry jumps in and is like,
and, the other thing he likes to say, drive safe. When you leave the house, his favourite thing is drive safe. So hydrate and drive safe. You know why? Because we're a very fearful household where we're terrified you're going to die of dehydration and be hit by a car at the same time.
Then at a different time, Harry revealed that Archie's first word was crocodile. Crocodile. I don't know. Most kids' first words are like mama, dada, things like that. But maybe Archie was talking about his mother. Still, crocodile is not a word that I think a child would attempt as their first word. I don't know. But we've gotten through his first words. It's probably time for this child, Archie, this kid who's definitely alive. It's time for him to go to school. So naturally, when the parents are interviewed, it's what's Archie doing at school? How's he liking school? Because he's preschool age now, right? So unless they've decided to become homeschoolers, he should be going to school somewhere, right? You'd think. They say he's been going to a preschool, but no one can tell us where this preschool is. We've never seen the child go to preschool. We've never heard of anybody talk about what it's like to be with Archie. And I tell you this much right now. If there was anybody whose kids went to school with Archie, I can guarantee you that a nanny or something could have been found to say what it's like when Archie comes over for a play date. What it's like at school with Archie. What kind of kid is he? I just feel like there'd be some inside source, some insider who'd be willing to give us a little bit of info on what this kid's like, who's going to a school, right? You're going to tell me out of the vast array of teachers, helpers, other parents, other nannies, that nobody has anything to say about Archie? This elusive child who you could really benefit monetarily from if you wanted to give a word. I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying it just seems like it'd be really easy to find somebody who would like the monetary benefit of giving a word or two about this elusive child. No, we don't know anything about him. But Meghan says that he's been going to preschool for a couple of years and he's real popular with the other kids. And she describes him as, quote, the cheerful kid who brings a week's worth of freshly picked fruit for his fellow classmates and enjoys playing a roaring game at recess. What? What preschooler do you know is just filling his backpack with freshly picked fruit for the other kids in his class? And the mom acts like this is something of his own making. That, of his own volition, he goes back out to the apple tree and brings up a whole bunch of stuff for the other kids. And that Meghan is just watching her 3-4-year-old do this. And it's just like, what a little man, feeding all his classmates, such a provider. He only has access to that if you give it to him. Like, why are you trying to create this idea of this little kid, this little engine that could, who's just over there trying to, be and do for all his classmates? He just, a week's worth of fresh produce. What is the teacher going to do with all that food in the classroom? So Archie likes to bring produce for the other kids to eat. Which leads us to this tendency that Meghan and Harry have of throwing out these random facts about the kids. They feel like if they give you some kind of fact about the kid, that legitimizes the kid's existence. So we've gotten various quotes like, one time when Meghan and Harry were in Nigeria and they were doing that stuff for the Invictus Games. Again, where are their kids? Their kids could have come on this trip, I know. They go to Nigeria and they're touring some school and Harry and Meghan are asking the little kids about, what's your favorite class and what's your favorite class? And so then they're throwing out things like Harry's like, is singing and dancing your favorite class? And then Meghan jumps in and is like, that's Lily's favorite because she likes to jump around. And then they go to another class and Harry's like, do any of you all enjoy electronics? And Meghan's like, my Archie likes construction. Or Meghan goes on the Ellen show and she's talking about it's Halloween and well, Archie put on a dinosaur costume but he didn't like it very much, so he just took it off and like he's not a huge fan of it. It's just like these random little bits of information that it's supposed to be enough for us to believe these kids are real. But again, I go back to, if you had kids and you truly had taken a backseat to everything else in life to raise them because they were the most important things to you, and that's all Harry and Meghan say. We're just family. We're all about the family. We're all about the kids. We're all about the home life. It just seems to me that you'd have something more substantial to say when people ask you about your kids. But even Meghan can't really describe motherhood as anything that would be descriptive of a real experience. At that same trip when she was in Nigeria, she did an interview and they were talking to her about motherhood. And she says, I love being a mom. I love being a mom. I love it. I love being a mom. It's like she says it enough times, we're going to believe that she actually is one. She described that, way back when she was on Suits, she'd asked a fellow castmate who had been a mentor to her, what is it like to be a mom? And, Bonnie Hammer had told her, well, it's a balance. You're constantly trying to strike a balance, but you never will find the balance. So Meghan basically, the whole interview is just regurgitating and rewording that statement from a previous mother she had known because she has nothing to describe for herself as to how it is to be a mother. And that's such a general and generic statement that it probably is true. You probably really are struggling to find out what it is to be a parent, and find that balance between work and social life and getting the kids where they need to go. Obviously, it's not something anyone could argue with her about, but it's such a generalized and generic statement about motherhood. What is your experience of being a mom? She can't tell us. But what I thought was really weird about this interview that she had done was she said, well, I asked Bonnie Hammer the exact question, how do you find balance? And she said, well, you don't. You'll never find balance. And this was before I was married, before I had children, before all the things in my life have certainly had a plot twist. And when I read that, I thought, okay, so you have said to us various times that you always wanted to be a mother. Now you are a mother, but you call that a plot twist? How is it a plot twist to have the children that you say you always wanted? Tell you what the plot twist is, having kids who don't exist. All right, well, I think that the other things too that were just strange about that conversation that she had in Nigeria too. Again, she said nothing. She said nothing that told us there was no anecdotes, no stories, no, this is something that we try to get done, you know, in a day as a mother. This is something that I really loved learning with my kids. This is something that I think is really fun that we do as a family. These are some of our cultures and traditions and little fun things we do as a family. None of that. She can't give us any color on what it is to parent with Harry these two children that she says exists. But she says, she ends it, this little conversation in Nigeria by saying, I am very, very grateful. I'm very humbled. And today is Mother's Day, so it feels appropriate. But though, of course, we are missing our children, I'm missing my babies. It just feels very appropriate to be in the motherland amongst family. So thank you so much for the kindness. Very grateful, and we can't wait to come back. It's Mother's Day. You're not with your kids, but you're trying to spin this as, I'm just glad I'm in the motherland because, of course, me and my children are Nigerian. And it feels right to, on Mother's Day, be in the motherland. You know what feels right? On Mother's Day to be with your kids. And why aren't they here? Why couldn't they have come? You can't travel with your kids? That's the thing that's so crazy to me. Harry and Meghan are constantly traveling, doing this, that, and the other. Right now, a perfect example. Where's Harry? You know, he loves his kids so much. But where is he? Not at home. Not at home. He's over there, you know, surfing. But then we've recently found out that those were old videos, old pictures of a previous surfing expedition. So Meghan just posted those to make it look like he was home. We don't know where he is. We don't know what's going on. And they're constantly traveling, but never with these kids. You guys have enough money to pay for help. So you could travel with your kids. If you are just so devoted to them, you cannot manage to think about leaving them. But it is hard to love somebody who doesn't exist, right? I mean, I will say that. I was reading this one article, and it was talking about when they went down to Colombia. And when they were in Colombia, Harry supposedly was very visibly annoyed and upset the whole time he was there. And an article was written, some insider, so, you know, we'll take this with a grain of salt, but it's an interesting story. That he was really frustrated to be there because Archie was going to start school. Unbelievably, he wasn't sure really when school started, but he thought it might run up into the time when they were on the Colombia trip. And so he was just really anxious because that might mean Archie starting school when they're not there. He's not really sure. It just, the whole thing unnerved him. And I'm just thinking, wait a second, you have kids. They're starting school. You don't know what day they start school, but you think it might be on the day that you are, you know, still in Colombia, and you're worried because your kid's having a hard time with that. And you're frustrated because Meghan planned a trip for when the kids are starting school and you thought it would be a good idea to be there on the first day of school. That school that you've never named, claimed, or told anybody about. Okay, so just listen to this real quick. In this one article I read, it was written of August of this year. It says, according to an insider, the prince was preoccupied with thoughts of his son, Prince Archie, 5, who was due to start school in California just a few days after the couple arrived back in Montecito. Harry's tendency to leave most of the decision-making to Meghan is not sitting well with him at all, a royal insider shares. He might have signed off on Colombia, but it was pretty clear he didn't want to be there and had Archie on his mind the whole time. Harry didn't realize how close to the first day of school it would be, but Meghan assured him they'd be back in time and it wouldn't impact Archie's big day. He's furious he allowed Meghan to arrange the trip right before the most important day of Archie's life so far, and he told her so. Unfortunately, Meghan's reaction to Harry's criticism wasn't great, as she felt he was questioning her parenting decisions. Quote, she's extremely frustrated with Harry right now, as he's not even hiding how miserable he is. But Harry's incredibly homesick, and so much of this world is nothing he can relate to. He imagined sending his kids off to prep school and on to Eton. He has a deep fear he's not doing the best by his children. Harry's almost broken travel records, trying to get back to Archie's birthday from coronations and court cases. He's always been his #1 priority, and being a father is one of the few joys he has in life. He can't shake the feeling that he's let Archie down by not being there for him. Well, where is he now? You ask yourself. What travel record did he break trying to get back to Archie? It's hard to know, but are we supposed to believe that this father, who is all about his son, didn't know when school started and was flummoxed by this trip that he had to take with Meghan? If Meghan's over there being like, no, school's not starting yet. You know, we're not going to miss the big day. If you're not going to miss the big day, then what's the deal with the traveling? But if you are so concerned and feeling like your son is scared about starting, you know, all day school or whatever, and you're nervous about it, then why don't you just bring him on the trip with you? Why don't you guys just all go to Colombia? and you can hire help to watch them when you guys have events. You know, we got people out there on the campaign trail right now who literally are traveling with their children all over the place. How many times have I seen JD Vance talk about how, you know, his family is with him? And, you know, you can, there's so many times I've been like, well, that is so complicated, traveling with your kids. And I'm sure that there's other politicians who travel with their families as well, because they're gone all the time. They don't want to be away from their kids, their wives, their children. So they pack everybody up and let's all go together. And it's a huge experience and it's probably very stressful. But if you say you care about your family, that's one way to do it. Harry and Meghan have enough money to hire help. And it's not like they're so busy all day long. It's not like a campaign stop where you're stopping at 3 places a day. Why can't they have their kids around, and when they're away on, you know, whatever little visit and talk, whatever meeting that they have to go to, someone can watch the kids. And when they're not, let's go sightseeing together. It's feasible. It's feasible. So it's like, again, why you guys talk about how much you love your kids, but then you travel away from them, and then we get articles like this. The reason Harry looks so upset in Colombia is because Archie's starting school and he doesn't know which day it'll be. How unplugged are you? So those are just a couple of highlights of why I think that there's just a great deal of evidence to support the idea that either these children live the saddest, most closed off existence of any human being ever. That they never darken the doorstep. They never are seen playing with other kids. They're never seen outside of the Montecito home. They're never, ever even featured on their parents' Instagrams as human beings that the parents care about. And again, I could understand if they wanted to do like, you know, pictures from behind so you're not showing their face, even putting emojis over their face so you're not, you know, revealing their identities. But for two people who say that their whole world is wrapped up in Archie and Lilibet, it's astounding to me that we never see hide nor hair of these kids. So either they are just horribly, horribly, horribly shut off from the world and unsocialized little beings, or they don't exist. And I truly think that the charade of pretending that they had kids, like the effort of that is wearing off. Because again, like I said earlier, they did used to sometimes put out something to let us know that the kids were still alive and well. And now the most we get is a balloon sculpture from the parking lot of the vendor who created it for the birthday party, but no picture of Archie in any context. For people who love their kids, you would, and for people who love to talk about themselves, and for people who claim that their whole life is wrapped around their children, if those kids existed, Meghan would be talking about them constantly, and she would be putting up all this little like Instagram mom, Pinterest type of stuff that she was doing for them, you know? Because I remember even at the beginning, her making videos about how she was making the cupcakes or the cake for the birthday party, and she was doing this and she was doing that for Archie. And now it's like it's all too much work. You know, I can't even, it would be really hard to keep pretending that you were this great super mom for a child that didn't exist. Like the effort and the work of doing that when the kid does exist, exhausting. Imagine doing all that work and the kid doesn't even exist, right? So we're going to keep getting these holiday cards where it's just Meghan and Harry because the kids don't exist, and the effort of trying to make the population believe, because then every time they do put a picture out, everyone's scrutinizing it. You know, had she been consistently putting something out, people would be way less critical, or I guess maybe their antenna would stop going up every time we did see a picture of these kids. Because at this point, it's like, oh my gosh, the recluses have emerged. Is it Boo Radley? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. Do you guys think these kids are real? And if so, where are they? And if you don't think they're real, for you, what is the most compelling piece of evidence that makes you think that they aren't really there? I cannot wait to read the comments. I'll see you there. Bye.